watching Insomnia Television. Insomnia Television. Insomnia Television. Insomnia Television.
This film is about an idea we call the polymorphic concept of data processing system design, which is a complicated name for an idea, we admit. But the idea itself isn't so complicated when you think of it in terms of how people get machines to help solve their problems. Now, if you have a problem to be computed, you take it to a computer. And as your problems get bigger, you need a bigger computer. As more and more guys like you have problems to solve, they take turns on the computer, which isn't so bad if the computer is fast enough, which it can be if it is big enough and expensive enough. But as the number of guys and the number of problems increase, the machine gets huge. Isn't that a waste? Because while one guy is using the computer to solve an easy problem, which may only be taking 1/1000th of the computer, everyone else has to wait. Unless you spend still more money and buy a still bigger computer. But worse, if one piece fails, the whole computer will probably quit, even though most of it is perfectly good, ready, and willing to work. What's wrong here? To start with, if you look inside, you see that it isn't just one solid hunk of computer, but a lot of individual parts and circuits which each have specialized functions. Now it would be nice if someone would divide the huge computer into little parts, unsolder the connections, so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts he needs for his particular problem. Next, you will want to organize things a little. Not in the usual way, where the brainy computer part not only supervises everything, but also insists on doing a large share of the detail work. What you want is more delegation, a more easygoing, cooperative relationship between all the parts so that they can associate freely and directly with one another and in various ways. Isn't this a lot of fun? Actually, of course, the electronic boxes don't move. You just make a nice, flexible, automatic switchboard connection like the telephone company does. That way, the computer boxes, the real brains of the system, don't have to waste their time and talents acting like telephone operators, trying to handle every single message personally. They can stick to computing and let the other boxes do the detail work, such as remembering large number of facts or sending messages from one box to another or carrying out simple logical routines. And so, each computer box doesn't have to be so big now. This is distributed control, distributed memory, distributed arithmetics, distributed everything. And it makes sense, because now more than one guy can be using the system at the same time to solve a number of easy problems. And when those occasional crash problems come along, your system can reconnect itself in a matter of microseconds to get the big, urgent jobs done, as well as an ordinary, giant computer could do them. And if one box quits, it's no great catastrophe. The system just automatically switches the job to another box. If you find yourself getting the busy signal too often, you buy more of exactly the kind of boxes you need. That's like adding on new subscribers as they move in. Or you can add more displays so that more people can see what goes on. Suppose your problem calls for a lot of detailed work to do most of the time. Then you buy boxes to give you all the memory or messenger service or whatever else you need. On the other hand, if your problems are mostly heavy-duty brain work, you can load your system up with computer boxes. When you really need it, and can prove you need it, you can put together a big system, or even a really, really big one, without over-investing early, or throwing anything away, or starting from scratch again. So you save money. And all the while, you have better reliability, and multiple use, and better access. You can even switch together 2 complexes, or 3, or 4, like a nationwide telephone system. Or you can connect in one of those ordinary giant computers as a subscriber if you go for super systems. And this doesn't mean that you end up with one big party line. You can keep some of the lines private by opening a few switches permanently, so that certain information won't be available to nosy subscribers. And so now you see that it wasn't just exactly a computer you wanted, but a group of guys with brains and a group of boxes with electronic brains and consoles and displays, all connected together in varying ways and growing together so that the partnership can solve more problems per dollar than each group could solve by itself. And this is all there is to the data processing concept known as polymorphic, many-shaped, or multiple mode, or the matrix concept, or maybe just the common sense switchboard idea in data processing systems. Now it just so happens that Thomson Ramo Wooldridge has been working on the polymorphic idea for several years. And, in case you hadn't already guessed, we have built the first actual polymorphic system. If you're interested, let us know.
It's new. It's now. It's Flash Cube. Flash Cube? Flash Cube. Only with the newest Kodak Instamatic cameras. 4 full-power flashes and 1 tiny cube. Flash Cube. It's this way, man. Drop in a film. Get yourself a Flash Cube. Pop it on. Take 1. Take 2. Take 3. Take 4 flash pictures without changing bulbs. In color, of course. Newest Instamatic camera outfits from less than $18. Only from Kodak.
You're watching Insomnia Television.
You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. If you miss the A train, you'll find you missed the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on now, it's coming. Listen to those rails a thrumming. All aboard, get on the A train. Soon you will be on Sugar Hill in Harlem. You take your baby to Harlem, you're bound to find the hall up on Sugar Hill, where everyone's having a solid ball. You board that A train, and then you ride till you dig this number, 145 Street, where all the cats meet, posing on the stroll. Pops, they're really in there. Ba-da-doo-da-da-da-doo-day. That's the riff that the bands all play. It's groovy, the hep cats say. Then you know that you're in Harlem. You got to get off that A train, and you will get a thrill. Yeah, if you're looking for a rhythm, you'll find it on Sugar Hill. Now that you know just how to get up that dig up a nickel and you got your fare, if you want to go to happy Harlem, you take the A train that goes uptown and ride. Wait until you get on Sugar Hill. You jump for joy till you get your fill. Have you got your nickel in your hand? Then hurry, don't you miss that train, old man. Yes, you must take the A train. That A train. You'll make it on time. Go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. Better hurry, get aboard that train.
No spider is known than the dangerous black widow, whose poison is 10 times as strong as that of a rattlesnake. The black widow is easily recognized by her coal black body and red hourglass marking. The hourglass is usually exposed because the black widow hangs upside down from her web. She belongs to the family Theradiidae, the comb-footed spiders. The black widow is a menace on 5 continents. In years when warm weather is prolonged, her numbers increase. She's a constant dweller in many places around homes or other structures. The widow usually attaches her web in dark corners or within untidy accumulations. When it's cleanup time in particular, it's well to be cautious, as the black widow's bite can cause serious illness and sometimes death. The black widow subsists on various insects, such as this cockroach. She encases her victims with silk and then kills with poison from her fangs. The fangs are hollow and about 1/50th of an inch long. They're fed by unusually large poison sacs. The widow's web is irregular and without apparent design. A human hair next to a strand of web is huge by comparison. Black widow silk has 12 times the tensile strength of steel. During World War II, it was used in gun sights and other optical instruments. The male spider is much smaller than the female and is not considered to be dangerous. His palpi store the fluid to fertilize the widow's eggs. The male vibrates the web to attract the widow. Usually, she does not attack the male as he tries to secure her with his own ineffective web. Only when prompted by strong hunger does the black widow kill and eat the male after mating. Fertilized eggs, and the black widow's body takes on a swollen appearance. Just before laying her eggs, the black widow spins the top half of an egg sac. Egg laying begins with the deposit of a large globule of sticky substance, which will hold the eggs together until the widow is ready to complete the egg sac. There are 188 eggs in this batch, but the number laid at one time may reach 1,000. The black widow lays about twice each month during the warm weather season. The widow now completes her egg sac. To make it water resistant and secure from almost all insect predators, she covers it with a tough, close woven web. The egg sac can be moved for greater security or temperature control. The black widow is particularly dangerous for several days after laying and will readily attack in defense of her eggs. The substance which binds the eggs together evaporates within 2 hours, allowing the eggs to separate. The eggs appear smooth and polished, like a clump of small pearls. Each egg is perfectly formed. The immature spiderling develops in about 3 weeks and breaks through the egg skin. Here it remains like an image in wax, awaiting the first molt. This first molt is completed within a week. Weather determines how long the spiderlings will remain inside the egg sac. Before emerging, the spiderlings shed their skin a second time. When they're ready to leave, the spiderlings help each other chew a hole in the egg sac. Once they are out, the spiderlings spin a network of webs as a means of escape and separation. Until the third molt, males and females look alike. Each spiderling will seek his own shelter and his own food. The body gradually takes on color as the spider develops. Food stimulates growth in the young widow, who must molt 6 or 7 times before she is mature. This last molt takes the longest. During each molting process, the widow is immobilized and defenseless. The soft new skin must harden. It will be several hours before the widow recovers her full agility and her coal black coloring. The full cycle from egg to mature black widow ranges from several months to a year, depending upon the widow's food supply. Now, let us look at the black widow's enemies. 3 are well known: the praying mantis, the alligator lizard, and the mud dauber wasp. These are minor enemies who may use the widow for food, and all are not uncommon denizens of the backyard. One of the most important and devastating enemies of the black widow is a tiny fly called Pseudogorax signata. This canny visitor alights on the widow's egg sac without disturbing the spider. Almost at once, the fly lays a batch of eggs. Within 5 days, the eggs hatch into maggots. Each maggot burrows through the egg sac and punctures a widow's egg. Size of the maggots increases rapidly during the 7 or 8 days that they take to consume the eggs. When all of the black widow's eggs have been eaten, the maggots pupate. This process is another of nature's great wonders. Within 3 hours, the maggot produces a hard pupal case. The astonishing change that takes place in this phase of the life cycle is known as metamorphosis. For 10 days, cradled by the egg sac of the black widow, the pupa lies motionless. Then Pseudogorax signata, the tiny fly, the arch enemy of the black widow, is ready to emerge. A soft membrane in the head inflates with air, and pressure splits the pupal case. The struggle through the egg sac is soon ended. Nature has begun another new life cycle. So prolific is the poisonous black widow that her enemies are vastly outnumbered. It's fortunate that the widow's coal black body, red hourglass marking, and irregular web are so easily recognizable. Yes, the dangerous black widow is a menace, a spider to be approached with caution. Yet she is not altogether bad. Nature has endowed her with great capacities and with skills beyond the reach of man. The black widow has 8 eyes through which she looks into her own world, a world from which man, with all his intelligence and research, has much to learn.
You are watching Insomnia Television.
Way up in Harlem at a table for 2. There was 4 of us, me, your big feet, and you. From your ankles up, you sure are neat. Yes, but from that down's exactly too much feet. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you 'cause your feet's too big. Join in choir. Twice, sweet water. How's that for vocal? Into the killer? Where'd you get 'em? Your gal, she loves you. She thinks you're nice. She claims you got everything to take you to paradise. Ain't that a killer? She likes your loving. She likes your rig. But man, oh man, them things is too big. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you, nay, 'cause your feet's too big. Cedric, on your feet and earn your salary, son, blow. Play that doghouse music, I love it. That's it, give me the growl. Say your pedal extremities are colossal, but to me you ain't nothing but an old fossil. Yes, you got me walking, talking, and squawking, 'cause your feet's too big. Yes, your feet's too big. Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big. Say I can't tolerate you, I really hate you, 'cause your feet's too big. In fact, your pedal extremities are a bit obnoxious. Where did you get them, son? Where did you get them? One never knows, do one.
Billy?
I'm not a bit sleepy.
You have to get up early tomorrow, remember?
Oh, I don't want to go to bed yet.
It's bedtime and sleep time. Now, put these things down. Now get under the covers and out with the lights.
Mom, I'm always awake for ages after the lights are out.
Oh, don't worry. You'll fall asleep right away. You'll be asleep before you know it. Good night, Billy.
Good night.
Billy's mother didn't know the real reason why he didn't want to go to bed. When he was left alone in the dark bedroom, Billy became frightened. He didn't understand about fear, that fear is a natural thing and nothing to be ashamed of, and that there's a way to go about getting over some fears. So he had never told his mother about it.
What is it, Billy? Why aren't you in bed? What's wrong, Billy? Is something the matter?
Mother.
Yes?
Is it all right if I leave the lights on just for tonight?
Oh, is that what's been bothering you?
I thought I saw someone in the room, and I heard noises.
Well, noises always seem louder at night, and then we often imagine all sorts of things that aren't true. Tell me, Billy, are you often afraid like this?
Lots of nights.
Oh, I'm sorry you didn't tell me about this before. You should never be ashamed of telling me when you're afraid of something. Fear is nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody's afraid of something or other. It's very natural. Do you remember what happened a few weeks ago, that Sunday morning? I was making breakfast. You and Dad were waiting so you could get outside to work on the lawn. Do you remember how the bacon fat poured over the stove and caught fire? I was terribly frightened. Your father was frightened, too. Then he remembered an old trick about putting out grease fires, and he quickly smothered the flame. We were all frightened of the fire. It was natural. Being afraid was nature's way of warning us that the fire was dangerous and might harm us. That's what fear is, a warning of danger. Sometimes we're afraid of big things, and sometimes we're afraid of very little ones. But you shouldn't be ashamed of being afraid of something dangerous. No matter whether it's big or little, being afraid is nature's way of reminding us that we should do something to avoid the danger, and to avoid being harmed. Do you remember the time you threw the ball onto the ledge at school? Danny was angry at you for throwing the ball out of bounds and insisted that you get it down. He dared you to climb up the wall on the drain pipe, but it looked too dangerous to you, and you were afraid of losing your grip and falling. So you refused to climb up, even if it was a dare. And the janitor got the ball for you. You see, being afraid of climbing up the wall was your warning that it was very dangerous and that you might be hurt. You showed good common sense when you paid attention to that warning, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. Being afraid was nature's way of getting you to avoid something dangerous. But now there's something else about fear that I don't think you quite understand, Billy.
What's that?
Well, sometimes when you become afraid, there isn't anything that's really dangerous. Sometimes you think things are dangerous when they're not. Sometimes you and most other people grow afraid even when they know there's nothing dangerous. Can you think of anything like that, Billy?
I know. Kathy Lewis used to be afraid of dogs, even when they were friendly. She was so scared she'd cross the street when she saw one.
Well, that's a good example of exactly what I mean.
I found it out one day when I was playing with Scrappy. You know, Mr. Rogers' dog. He's friendly. He wouldn't even hurt a flea. I didn't know she was so fraidy cat. I called her to come over, but she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't come back even when I told her the dog wouldn't hurt her. She didn't have to be afraid of the dog. It wouldn't have hurt her. Isn't that what you mean, Mom?
That's just what I mean. And you remember how afraid Keith Hoken was about learning to swim?
That's right. He was scared to go near the water.
Yes. Keith was afraid of something that wouldn't hurt him, too. And there's another kind of being afraid when there's no real danger. That's being afraid of what people might think, especially your parents. Do you remember a few months ago when Mrs. Campbell phoned me after dinner? Frank hadn't been seen since school. They were waiting dinner for him, and poor Mrs. Campbell didn't know what to think. Well, you know what happened. They found Frank down in the basement. His report card had some bad grades on it, and he was afraid of what his mother and father would think. Maybe even that they'd stop loving him. Of course, he found out that he shouldn't have been afraid, that his parents would go on loving him no matter what grades he made. So you can see what I mean when I say there was no real danger there. There are many things that people are afraid of when there's really no danger. Things like fear of being laughed at because their clothes are different or because their marks aren't as good as they might be. They're afraid for all sorts of foolish reasons.
But suppose you are afraid of something, like dogs or the dark. What can you do about it?
Well, each time you're afraid, try to understand whether there's really something to be afraid of. If you're afraid when there's real danger, you can learn ways of protecting yourself. Fear at the right time will make you careful. Fear and wise action, such as Dad took, or such as you took when you wouldn't climb up that wall, you can be proud, not ashamed of.
But how can you tell when there's a real danger or not?
Just stop and think. Common sense will often help. Then, too, try to remember or find out whether other people are afraid of the same things you are. For instance, Kathy could see that you were playing with the dog and that the dog didn't hurt you. She could know from that there was nothing to be afraid of.
That's right.
So what Kathy needed to do was to try to understand why she was afraid of dogs. Maybe just getting to know some dogs would have helped her get over her fears.
That's what she did do, Mom. Her dad bought her a little puppy to play with. It was the cutest little thing. We all loved it, especially Kathy. That was last summer. The dog's big now. Kathy took good care of him. He got to know dogs so well that she isn't a bit afraid of them anymore. I guess that's what you mean by getting to know and understand the thing you're afraid of.
Yes. Keith got over his fear of the water by taking swimming lessons with a teacher he trusted and believed in.
Yeah, he can swim pretty well now.
There's another thing you can do to help yourself get over a fear when there's no real danger, and that's to talk about your fear with somebody.
Like we're doing now.
That's right. You could talk it over with your parents, friends, your teacher, your doctor, someone you're fond of and trust. If Frank had only talked with his mother and father about his fear that they might stop loving him if his report card wasn't good, it would have been better for them all. Of course, his parents didn't realize he felt that way. Perhaps they expected too much of Frank. And it may sound funny, but Frank's grades were bad partly because of his fear of his parents. He was afraid he couldn't make good. Talking it over certainly made a big difference to the Campbells. It helped all of them understand each other better. As they talked over his work and work habits and what they expected of him, Frank got over his fear of making poor grades and of not doing well enough to please his father and mother. He's doing much better in school now, isn't he?
Yeah. Gee, Mom, it does help a lot to talk things over.
Billy, would you like to talk about some of the things that you're afraid of? Like why you don't like the room dark?
Well, I'm lonesome. And I'm afraid you and Dad aren't downstairs. That maybe you've gone away.
You have my word that we'll never go away without telling you. And of course we'd never leave you alone. Either we or someone else will always be where you can call. How about it? Ready for sleep now?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, darling. Good night. What about the light, Billy?
Tell you what, Mom. Leave the door open a little instead, will you?
That's fair enough. Good night, son.
He will feel as alone as he did before? Do you think he'll stay awake as long as he used to? Does knowing that others are afraid of real dangers make it easier for Billy to stop worrying about his own fears? And when he remembers that some people are afraid when there's no real danger, does that make it easier for Billy to understand some of his own fears? Billy refused to climb the drain pipe because it looked dangerous. Yet at the same time, he had another fear. He was afraid he might be called a coward by his friends. He had to decide which was the real fear. Do you think he decided correctly? And do you think that the story of Frank's being afraid of what his parents might think helped Billy understand his own fears better? Did it help Billy to talk over his fears with his mother? What do you think?
sweetest story ever told. A coach for Cinderella.
Suppose you've heard about that huzzy Mrs. Webb spider. No, but I'm listening. Well, far be it from me to gossip, but it seems that only last night, Mr. Webb spider... No, yes.
Stop, Johnny, you're
seas fly in to test the air that lies within a coach for Cinderella.
Heads up down there.
The bluebirds fly in circles wide, weaving their way from side to side, forming the drapes that help provide the gown for Cinderella. Borrowed from another day, now we present in full array the coach for Cinderella, the coach for Cinderella.
You are watching Insomnia Television.
Take me back, baby, you're all I'm craving for. Take me back, baby, please let me have once more. The key's on my key ring that opens your front door. Take me back, baby, I'm kinda plump, that's true. Take me back, baby, here's what I'm gonna do. I'll go on a diet until my shape suits you. Or you take me back, baby, oh honey, you're so sweet. Or you take me back, baby, that makes my life complete. numbers of other gals on this street.
Tide is a sound like no other, an original, somewhere between jazz and rock. It is a fusion of musical genius, technical virtuosity, and a fine disregard for the put-ons that pass for showmanship with some other musical groups. Tide is all of that, and more. To these four talented men pursuing their own version of the American dream, Tide is also very much a business.
The economic system we're living in, we can do anything we want. It's up to ourselves to make the decisions. If we don't feel we can make a profit enough to take enough money home for us all to eat the things we like to eat, we can either quit playing the music we like to. We can either quit playing music altogether as far as that's concerned, to do something else. We can change the type of music we're playing. And so far we've been able to play things that we want to and exist at least. And we're hopeful that we can, that our music communicates to enough people that we'll be able to make a good living off it.
Businessmen must have hope. There would be no private enterprise at all were it not for the anticipation of reward. But reward is linked with verities as well as dreams, and Tide is subject to all the realities of survival, subject to long hours of hard work if they are to keep ahead of the competition, subject to constantly rising costs which gnaw away at a thin margin of profit, the costs of transportation, of maintaining a beat-up second-hand bus, and of living on the road.
Did we ever stay at a hotel in this town? Wareham. No, we played there, never stayed there.
You've got to want to succeed to meet the countless demands a business, any kind of business, makes on you.
We've had to play in places where you had to go up fire escapes with the equipment, stuff like that. After you've carried equipment for a while, it's hard to play. Like, it's hard to make your fingers work. I'm pretty much responsible for being sure that we're booked all the time. I do it on my own or pretty much anything to be sure we're working. Most of the time I leave it up to booking agents.
I don't see any reason why after the first of the year we can't, on a 100% basis, go after some kind of record deal and get out on the West Coast and try to tie something down instead of just waiting any longer.
A hit record would make Tide's success more of a certainty. A hit record is every struggling group's big dream. But the means to that end cost money. Tide will have to absorb the expense for high-priced recording time, making a demo tape for their agent to take to the coast to play for talent scouts.
After our experience with the first album that we recorded and distributed, did almost all the work on it pretty much ourselves, we came to the realization that we really can't handle all that. We don't have enough capital to get the records distributed, so we need an established record company that has enough faith in our music to think that it will make money, to put their money behind it, be sure it's distributed.
Yeah, I got it on blender. Let me, we're over compressed. Let me run it down a dab. We're going to have some really fantastic dynamics here to work with. We're going to have to... We're getting a clipping out of something. Let's see. Yeah, let me
Well, if a talent scout likes Tide's sound from the demo, maybe, just maybe, Tide will get a chance to show what they can do in person.
I'd like to hear them.
The best situation now, they're playing some high school and college type things, but from a record company point of view, I would rather have you hear them in a concert type situation when they're just playing like for an hour and a half, all their own music, tunes that they feel are the best of what they've written.
It is today's profit, the money Tide is making right now, that is being invested in the demo they hope will be their passport to the big time. To get where it wants to go, a business has to do more than break even. The future is built on what is plowed back into the effort now, and that includes overhead, the day-to-day outlays, rent for a rehearsal studio, and paychecks for the hours spent practicing or doing the creative work.
Let's just go through like the first part of that verse there and try to get some of the dynamics worked out too.
Jim's responsibility is mostly the music. He's written most of our stuff. Although everyone in the group helps arrange it. When we get in the studio, we'll sometimes tear the songs apart and put them back together and adding our own ideas and stuff. But for the main part, Jim comes up with most of our material, brings the ideas down that we start with. He spends a lot of time at home or down at the studio when the rest of us aren't there working on things like that.
Howdy. Pretty good. Can I have a receipt, please?
I handle all the money, which means I have to make out all the checks, payroll checks, checks for studio. I also take care of the bus. I have to be sure it's running and it's not going to break down. I have an accountant that handles most of our stuff, figures out all the income tax forms for me, and lets me know if looks like we're in danger of losing a lot of money during the next month or something. I keep him informed of our bookings.
Got the expense sheets on it. Played 3 jobs, and that's one for each of them.
Oh, they look pretty good. You don't have a lot of expenses on them.
No, they were pretty local. That's one thing that's helped a lot. Until you got those forms, I wasn't aware of how much we were actually spending on gas and getting to some of those jobs that were farther away.
Has the gas gone up quite a bit?
Yeah, prices have gone up quite a bit.
Inflation is as bad for businesses as it is for individuals. Inflation eats away at the money a business needs to grow on, as well as siphoning off funds that should go to reward the workers.
Also, I need to figure out a new amount we need per week, and I'd like to give Steve Rice a raise, about $5 a night.
Okay. He's making.
We're a lot better off with the accountant. He takes care of it for us. Makes sure that all the money goes where it's intended to go.
I have to clear about $550 a week to break even.
All right.
Over that, we'll give you a little profit.
A little profit, but not much. And so Tide struggles on, taking every job that can be scheduled. The men push themselves and their equipment to the limit, playing an endless succession of one-night stands, hoping against hope that the old bus doesn't throw a rod, that nothing happens to rob them of what little capital they have, capital that is already committed for that demo tape.
They say something sounds kind of weird or surprising, it's probably going to be distant. So like when you're writing a chord...
Will they ever get to the point where it isn't touch and go? Who knows? There are no guarantees when you're running a business. But at least they are doing what they want to do.
Things, if it wasn't for your little tricks. It's all the same to win or lose, just so the game's not fixed. But maybe I'm asking too much, so we meet from time to time. Or maybe I'm looking right through you, and you're still on the line.
Jim wrote Fences and Gates. Basically, the song talks about finding the gates, which could mean several things. Getting through to the record companies, so we could have a way to have the mass audience hear our material. Another gate would be somehow to make more money, so we could pay off some of our debts and feel more comfortable. But all we seemed to run into was the fences part of the thing. I mean, every time we tried to do something, we ran into the fence instead of the gate. So it's just a song about looking for the ways through.
I wouldn't mind just starting late if I thought the end was near. All's fair in love and hate, but the difference isn't clear. Well, maybe I'll never see you, it could be just my fate. For some there's only fences, for others only gates.
Let's say that you go to a job. The people come and, you know, they've been through a day and you've been through a day. It's not like it's the start of your life, not like you have a switch on your body, you know, a musician switch where somebody comes along and turns it on and you play some music and then they turn it off and put you back in the box and you go home and stay that way for a while. I consider a good musician to be a spontaneous musician. But if you want to be spontaneous, you've got to only live at the job. You know, you can't have any other life. You got to just live for the music. And there, when you travel several hours to a job, and you got several hours to get back, you know, you just don't like. The thought depresses you getting home about the time everybody else is getting up to start their daily lives and all.
Another day, another dollar. A satisfying day professionally. Tide's sound has never been closer to the blend of jazz and rock they have been aiming for. But as for the dollars, well, that is less reassuring. Some of the equipment needs replacement, and a midsummer slowdown when people desert concert halls for the great outdoors makes it impossible for Tide to buy what is needed out of current income.
Well, I haven't got a specific deal set yet. I'd like to talk to a couple different dealers, but I imagine sometime within the next week I should be able to have it set. Once I know that I'll be able to have the money for them.
Well, your payment record has been good here at the bank, and we value you as a customer, so yeah, we'll be glad to take care of you on this. What you'll need to do is, when you decide on the equipment that you want, if you'll get a description of it by a serial number and come on in and we'll fix up a note. And if you want, you can go ahead and write them a check for it.
beginning again. I got a feeling this time I'll win. I was finding my way, really doing okay. I thought I'd see the light, almost to the door, but someone got ahead of me and locked it tight. From the beginning again, I got a feeling this time I'll win.
There is more of hope than of prophecy in Tide Song, more of the dream than of the realities. With youth's boundless optimism, the men have shut their eyes to the specter of insolvency which is forever nipping away at their heels. With youth's boundless optimism, they expect something outside themselves or the way they run their business, a big break, to make the difference. But that isn't the way things work. The breaks come to those who have what it takes to ride out emergencies. For no matter what the business, no matter how much energy and talent and hard work have been poured into an enterprise, it's the economic facts of life that make the difference in survival. The need to supply a product or service that people want at a price they can afford to pay.
Be careful how you smile and keep your hair in place. Play your hunch, roll with the punch and use your other face. There's a right way and a wrong way, it's up to you to choose. But be careful just how you move, because the right way you win, the wrong way you lose.
For a business, there is only one right way. Make a profit. Soon after this concert was finished, Jim, the lead guitarist and composer, found it necessary to leave Tide to take a paying job. Whether or not the other men elect to stay together to continue playing as a group, the unique, unforgettable sound that was Tide will never again be the same. These men had everything it takes except the one thing no enterprise can survive without: a decent profit. Remember that. Where there is no profit, there is loss. And the loss is always measurable in human terms as well as dollars and cents. Where there is no profit, the options are narrowed to one. And yet, that one option itself is part of the vitality of our system. An economic system which offers the option of starting over, of taking it from the beginning again.
Thank you. Thank you.